I love to, and I always tell other moms who are overwhelmed or questioning things like, you need to look to people that are ahead of you. And when I look to the ones ahead of me, I feel like the ones who've handled it best are the ones who are flexible to change all the time. When seasons are changing, they just do better. And I want to be that person, like, just, okay, it's changing. And I can grieve and let go of the past of how it used to be, but also I'm going to march forward with a joyful spirit to what's next.
My name is Lisa, mother of 9 and creator of the blog and YouTube channel Farmhouse on Boone. On this podcast, I like to talk about simplifying your life so you can live out your priorities. I help you learn how to cook from scratch and decorate on a budget through this podcast and my courses, Simple Sourdough and the Simple Sewing series. I also help people reach their goals from home through my business courses, Create Your Blog Dream and YouTube Success Academy. I will leave links to these resources in the show notes and description box below. Now let's get into the show. Welcome back to the Simple Farmhouse Life podcast. Today, I am talking with Sarah from our tribe of many. She's been on the podcast before. Many of you know her and love her content. This discussion is so encouraging. If you are an overwhelmed mom, a young mom looking for just some perspective on what your future looks like and how beautiful it can be as children grow up. Large family life. Sarah has 11 children, so she has learned a thing or two at this point, having 11 children, 21 years old and younger. And I think that you are going to find this discussion very encouraging. So let's dive in. Sarah, I'm so excited to catch up with you. If it takes us scheduling a podcast, then that sounds good.
That's the only way these days.
Yeah. Well, we're both very busy. You have 11 children, and I know some of them are moved out and on their own, but nonetheless, that means there's like moving parts everywhere. That's one thing I find interesting. My oldest is now 16, so she can drive, which means they're starting to have their own plans. And it's just crazy how you think life will like slow down, but it's actually the exact opposite. Sorry, young mothers.
Yeah,
You're not off the hook.
It is so different.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I feel like nobody really prepared me for how different it really is when your kids are older.
Yeah, I was talking on a different episode recently about how it blindsides you a little bit because my oldest was 12 4 years ago. And 4 years, as we all know, is like nothing when you're an adult. Like it's nothing. And so when 4 years ago, I had all these little kids, 12 and under. And then 4 years from now, I'm going to have like, they're already, all aging into these like more independent stages. But then 4 years from now, there's going to be 4 kids, or not 4 maybe, but you know what I'm trying to say? Like, it's just very fast how the whole dynamic changes.
Yes.
So that's interesting.
It's so true. When I now that I have older ones, I have 21 down to age 3.
Yeah, it's quite the range.
And it gives you such a different perspective on your younger ones when you have raised some, like kind of
absolutely does.
Raised. Yeah. And it's just wild. I'm about 4 years ahead of you. So my oldest, just right up there, and 5 years maybe.
Yes.
And it's just wild.
Yeah. Well, that is something that I talk about a lot because people will ask, I'm sure you get asked this question a lot too. Is it easier to have like 2 kids or is it easier to have 11 kids? And I find the question kind of funny because of course more kids is more work. There's no way around that. However, it's your perspective shift that ends up making the little kids so much easier because there's so many things that you're like, oh, like that was something I worried about so much. And you don't realize how much stress goes into things that are very like not important things at all, but it takes the perspective shift. You almost can't explain it to a young parent, right? Like it's not possible.
100%. Yeah. It's just like, you're in that mode, you're in that family mode and you're adding kids to it. So you don't really feel that impact like you did when it was your first ones, for sure.
Yeah.
And you're just kind of moving in that mode and everybody's in that mode and it just gets more fun and messier and louder.
Yeah.
And
well, that's it. Like anytime I'm home with a couple of kids for whatever reason, like if Luke took older kids somewhere, I'm home with 2 little kids. And
Yeah.
I remember when I had 2 little kids or 3 little kids, and it felt like possibly chaotic at times. And it's like the quietest thing. Like no matter
Quietest.
how loud they are, there's
Yes.
zero chaos compared to
Yeah.
everybody being home. So it's
Yes. A few times recently, I had just my youngest 5 at home for dinner. And I'm
just
like,
my youngest 5.
it's
But
so
yeah.
clean and quiet. And then I thought, boy, some people who have 5 feel like, you know, that's a regular life. And for me, just going backward is just so wild. It was very clean and quiet dinner, let me tell you.
Yeah, that's what I find when I'm home with like a handful of kids. Like you said, even, I mean, I only have 8. So 5 probably doesn't pull me down as dramatically, like from the level of 11 to 5 to where I'm like, oh, this is just so easy. But I will say when I'm left home with like 3 or 4, like keeping the house clean and keeping people fed is a whole different thing. Like it's
It's so
compared
easy.
to, yeah, I know. Exactly. It's just like there's so many people in a house. And I know you guys pretty recently, has it been in a year or 2 that you moved into your brand new house?
Yeah, less than a year. Yep. And it
Okay,
was
less
like
than a year.
November, end of October last year. So yeah, it's very
So I
exciting.
need your perspective on how building a house is, because I'm right in the middle of it. Do you feel like now, oh, it's no big deal? Because in the thick of it, I'm like, this is not fun.
We built a house twice. This is the first time we did like a custom home where we really picked everything. The first time was kind of, you know, the builder's like, this is what I do. And we said, okay, here's our colors, you know?
Okay. Yeah. That sounds a lot easier.
Yeah. Yeah. So, we designed our house and just had very specific things we wanted for our large family, knowing that, yes, they will grow up and move out, but we also know that we want them to feel comfortable to come back into our home. We want them to not feel pushed out because it's small. And I know a lot of families do small homes with very successfully. And I loved that season. We actually lived in for me, it was very small. It was 1,700 square feet, but all 11 of our kids in that house. And
that would be really small. I just want to say, like, we're in about, I think around 1,900. I don't know for sure what this house is with 10 people. And it definitely feels small. And I am being such a wimp because I know so many people who live so much smaller with more kids. So I will say that.
I hear you completely, because I always knew, of course, there's so many families that do it with much less space, but we do have long, dark winters. And then we also, we have adult age children, adult bodies, at least.
Big people.
Yeah. And I could just feel this, especially with my oldest, like this sense of, okay, I can't be here. I want to be here with you guys, but I can't be here. And I got it. I mean, he was in a triple bunk. It was like his body is huge. Right. You know what I mean? Yeah. And so we really wanted space where they just feel like they can take their time to leave till they need to. And we designed it with even our grandchildren in mind, and just thinking like that. And I tell you, it's been dreamy. We regret absolutely nothing, which I think says a lot in almost a year. And it wasn't too hard of a process because our smaller house is on our same property. In fact, now our oldest son and his new wife live in that house, and that's so fun. That's really the dream, is that several of them would maybe want to live around here or on the property and do more family compound, which I guess we technically have now, and it's so fun. We just love it. And yeah, it's great. I'm so happy for you guys. You guys, congratulations. You got a baby coming like any day now, probably, right?
Yeah. Yes, any day now. Gosh, yeah, when this episode comes out, like the baby will definitely be like a month old. But because we're getting ahead in order to not have to do any podcast interviews for a little while. But I am currently due any second now. Like, I'm just curious from you. Did all your kids come around like the same time, or did you have some that were like 39 weeks and some that were 42 weeks?
I had, it was kind of all different. I had some blood pressure issues with a lot of my babies. So my doctors would really push me to have them early sometimes. So sometimes I was induced. Okay. But like 41 weeks was my latest, I think. But it was always a little different. Are you pretty consistent?
Yes, I've so far been pretty consistent. And so that's just what I'm fully planning on. So we'll see.
Yeah. They can surprise you even when they're number 9, I'll tell you.
I know. I have a friend that happened to on her like later child. And I'm like, that would really throw me because I think I know what's going on. So back to your house, I think it's
Uh-huh.
interesting that people say, and I agree, that you would build a different house in your 20s than your 30s, than your 40s, than your 50s. And I've thought about that. I'm like, yes, what would we have designed or like 10 years ago? And then now kind of we almost probably have about all the kids that we're going to have. I can predict what ages they're going to be in 10 years,
Mm-hmm.
What would I do 10 years from now that I maybe not seeing now in designing a home? Because certainly I would probably choose something different, which is interesting. But yeah, what kind of things were you prioritizing? And you said you don't regret anything. So I feel like you probably did a good job.
Yeah, well, yet it's only been a year, not quite.
True.
But I will say we tried to have that mentality of like, what about our 50s and 60s, and will this house be too big for us? Will it feel way too big? And because we drew it out thinking it was smaller, we took it to the architect, and he's like, no, this is a bigger house. And it was kind of like, oh, do we want that? Do we want to be cleaning that, one day?
Yeah.
And so there are things we thought about. Our builder told us right away, zero entry, because you never know if you need zero entry. Definitely do that. That's good for thinking into the future. One of my friends had a lot of children, and they tried to make as many bedrooms as possible have a bathroom attached to it, which seems very excessive. But she said when her adult children came home, it is so much nicer for them when they have their little babies to have a bathroom attached to their bedroom. And so we tried to do that as much as we could. We did it with 2 of our kids' bedrooms in the basement. And then we tried to, let's see, we have a cubby in our mudroom for every child. And the goal is that when they're coming home with their families, if they have special sippy cups they like, or certain things for their family, even when they're grown, that they would have a place just to put those things. And we also thought our younger kids, like all the girls and all the boys, share a room, but we thought eventually it could be a girl and boy room for grandkids if they're having sleepovers or whatever. We also designed it that our master bedroom's on the main floor. So if we're just us here, which I think one of our kids will probably want the house, or we'll move on or something. But if it happens to be just us here, it wouldn't be hard to just clean the main floors most of the time. And so we were trying to think of all of those things too, which is, it's weird. Most of our kids are home. We have 10 kids. I guess one of them is in Japan right now on a long-term mission trip, but most of our children are still home. And yet we're having to think like that, because once you have one move out, you realize, okay, this goes way faster
like every other
than
year.
I thought.
Yeah.
Every other year. That's what I thought when they started driving. I thought potty training came fast. Then when they start turning 16, you're like, every time you get one that you feel pretty confident about, there's another one to teach. And it's probably the same thing about graduating them and when they're moving out and moving on. Having older children gives you such a different perspective on younger children. And it's actually such a gift. Because I know we parent differently now. I keep saying we're going to be perfect by the last one, but not really, because we'll never have it all figured out. But it really does help you see what's important, what's not important. And I do love that gift. I'm very thankful for that.
Yeah. Do you feel like you're more laid back about certain, I don't mean this in like I think people think of that as a negative thing, because they're, the things that are important to like zero in on. And then, things that are like, this does not affect their future in any way. Why am I stressed? Like, do you feel like
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I feel like I started out as a pretty laid back parent, but I am a list person and I'm juggling a lot of things. I think the thing that made me let go of things the most is in homeschooling. There's something about homeschooling. Once you have your first one graduated, you're like, okay, what they said is true. When
this
you keep
actually
just
works
moving
out.
through it, it does work out somehow. And so some of those books, like my older kids will come to me and like, I don't like this book. Can I switch it out for this? And they'll want to switch it out for something that I would never read. Even it looks so boring. But now I'm like, yes. yes. We don't have to do everything like the book says. I let a lot of that go along the way, but I let more than ever go once I had graduated some. I realized that the reading is important. But if they're reading more their interests, that's fine with me too. What part of it is important in what we're doing. And so I think in the homeschool, it's helped me the most. And I realized all those days where we just made little progress was actually great progress. And so sometimes when I'm overwhelmed now, because it actually, when you're getting older, things change for how you handle all the things as well. And that's something I've been learning the last year, especially, is just, okay, I don't handle all the things as much as I used to. And that's just a fact of what happens when we're in our mid 40s.
Just like
which
in
you're
your
not there
brain,
yet,
things don't feel maybe
yes,
as urgent.
No, they feel like more overwhelming, what I used to handle.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And so, but I just can remind myself now that no, when we're just making even little progress, it adds up to big progress. So if I'm having a few days that are just feel very overwhelming with my business or with something else, and I'm like, how am I handling homeschool? No, every day of little progress ends up to be big progress in the end. And so I just keep thinking of progressing my kids, each one of them every day. And I look at my older ones, and they're smarter than I am. They are amazing kids. They love to read. They love to study. They like the subjects that I didn't like. I'm like,
right.
Somehow the
Lord
works it out in there.
Yeah,
I don't know where I was in any of it, but it's just that little progress each day, just making sure they're progressing. And some days it's big progress, and some days it's little progress. But all progress is all we need. Just keep moving through. The little bits, they add up so much. And that's what you don't realize. And that's the same with time. I think that perspective of it's just time with your kids. I'm so thankful that we have homeschooled the whole way, because I've had so much time with them. But when you look at the older ones, it's just that I'm so thankful for all that time, because I really, really know my kids so well. And all those little bits of time of playing and working together and all those things, they just added up to something beautiful that who knew in the moment of chaos and stress and loudness and messiness. People are like, you have 11 kids. What's that like? And I always say it's a party, including the mess, but it's a party all the time.
It's always a party.
It's always a party, whether it's a fun party or not. It's always most of the time.
It really is. I think
party.
A lot of people, if they invited 11 people over, would consider that a party. So
it is a party all the time. So yeah, exactly. And so all that time, just it was all worth it. Like, that's what you realize with your young ones when you have old ones.
Well, it's good to hear that perspective from someone who has children that are older. Because I think also when you have younger kids and when you're homeschooling particularly, you think that every single thing that goes into their brain that's going to be helpful for them has to come from you. Like, if I don't say this to them, they won't learn it. But it turns out, you notice that kids find things they're interested in, and then they dig and explore. And they learn things beyond what you ever could teach them. But how overwhelming to think that if you don't cover it, they won't learn it.
Exactly. In fact, my older children's interests, when I really think about it, my oldest 3 that have graduated, they're not my interests. They love history. They love history and theology, my boys, so much that they'll have these deep discussions where they lost me a while ago because they're readers. They love to read. My oldest daughter loves theater. Like, you would have to pay me to sit through a musical. And now I've made it my hobby to love musicals because she loves musicals. But it's so cool to see your kids become who they're meant to be. And here I was their teacher, and they picked things that really didn't mean so much to me, like at the levels that it means to them. And it's awesome. It shows you also how little you have to do with it. You teach them how to learn. I teach them to love learning. That's my goal. I want them to love learning. And a lot of that is reading. I'm thankful that they've all loved to read, and they dig into their own things in their own ways. And little by little, I let go more of what I want them to read. But there's some of that. There's give and take. We all have to do things we don't like to in life. But yeah, it is beautiful to see it working out in young adult children.
Yes. And that takes the pressure off you with your younger kids.
100%.
It's probably more fun for you to homeschool than maybe your older ones. Like, did you have seasons of self-doubt in your older kids? Like, when you first started homeschooling, thinking that you weren't going to be able to do it?
Yes. I think, I remember very specifically having like my 7th baby. And for some reason, I just felt overwhelmed, like getting back to school. Sometimes I wanted to get back to school when they were 2 weeks old. And sometimes this time it was, I can't remember which one, but it was 7th or 8th or something. And I'm like looking for videos of people. How do you do it with a newborn? How do you homeschool with a newborn? And they're all saying, this is a season. Don't worry about it. Let things go. It's grace for the season. And I'm like, My oldest ones literally have never known our house without a baby in it.
You have
That
10 little
season just
babies
keeps
younger than the
going.
oldest. So the season of newborn,
Yeah.
and I talk about that too, because it's a season if you had like 3 or 4 kids.
Yeah.
It's a season. If you had them the whole, from the time you were in your early 20s to early 40s, that's not really a
that season comes around every 18 months and it really never ends before that,
Yeah.
Yeah. So what was your question? I don't even remember. But
so you were, sorry, I maybe derailed you. You were talking about how you were trying to figure out how you homeschool with a newborn, and people were like, don't worry about it. It's a season.
Yeah. You realize you just have to keep adjusting. It's always adjusting, right? So I look at these videos. I'm like, no, I can't do that. Otherwise we would do nothing. We would do nothing for any of them forever. And so it's always an adjustment. Always. And I'm always looking at my life like that because you can be doing something for one way for a long time and it's working well. And then all of a sudden it doesn't work. And so you just have to figure out, okay, how do I adjust? And that's my go-to. When it's not working, I'm not going to live in stress. I know the Lord did not create me to live and give me all these children to just live a stressed out life. So I'm looking for what's the solution.
True.
Let's find the solution. There is one out there. I know there's one out there always. And sometimes I have to pray about it. Sometimes the Lord gives me a solution. I'm like, oh, I never would have thought of that. Sometimes it's through a friend. Sometimes it's through a video I watch. It doesn't matter, but I keep searching for that solution until I find it. And, that's worked the best for me. Just keep pivoting if it's not quite working the same, and just being flexible. Flexibility is so important, I think, in motherhood. And I just couldn't subscribe to it's just a season, just let things go. That wouldn't work in my situation at all.
Yeah.
But we'd be letting everything go, and that wouldn't be well. That wouldn't go well.
I seriously think about this all the time, and I think it comes from a place of, if you actually did put your childbearing into a season, then that's advice for moms. That's the advice for them. And I have felt the exact same way when people say that to me, like, just let it all go. I'm like, do you know where my house would be right now if for all the times that I had little kids in the house, I just let it all go? Like, it's too many years for that.
It doesn't work.
Yes. So how do you feel like you're mothering? Like, I don't know if you could think of any specific things, but it looks different now from how it did 20 years ago or 15 years ago, when you had 15 years ago, you had little kids and maybe 3 or 4 of them. What do you do differently with like your 3 or 4 little kids now?
I don't know that I do a lot differently, because like I said in the beginning, I was started out a very laid back mom.
Yes. Okay. So I have a different perspective.
Yeah. And I'm like, I know that's not common.
I was so much more.
You were more rigid. Yeah. There's a lot of things that I guess I have let go of. Things like I would puree baby food in the beginning. And now I've been doing baby led weaning since about baby number 2 or 3. Like, there's some things with the first one, you're trying out stuff. Like, I want to do it right. But, I was pretty relaxed from the beginning. I think the biggest change and the biggest surprise for me is young adults is parenting. And my parents used to always say that the young adults is the hardest stage to parent. And I would be like, what? I don't know.
Yeah.
And now that I actually have young adults, I would agree 100%. I think there's a stage from 18 months to 2.5 that's very challenging. But if you stay very consistent, the rewards pay off.
It's such a different way, though.
It's such a different way.
Like, you still can just control what they do. That's what
when
I
they're
always
3
think. Like, you just literally put them in the high chair, put them in the car seat, put them in their nap.
They're doing something you don't like at 3 years old. You tell them, stop doing that. Let's redirect, distraction, blah, blah, blah. When they're doing something at 19, 20 that you're not a fan of, it's so different. You're learning a different way to parent than you used to parent all your life. And that is a challenge. And also, it's a stage where your kids make the most important decisions of their lives. They're deciding the career. Oftentimes they're deciding who they're going to marry, which I believe is one of the most important decisions you make. It really affects your future. They're deciding who they are, who they're becoming. And you're watching your kids do this, and it's trial and error. For us, it was trial and error. And so for them, it's going to be trial and error. And you're watching them make decisions sometimes that you wouldn't make. And let me say, my kids are amazing. Nobody's gone off the rails majorly, but still, it is a new challenge for my husband and I.
They're humans.
We pray more for our kids now than we did before, I'm ashamed to say. Now we're like, we always feel like there's one that's got us on our knees more than all the others. And then it changes just as soon as you feel like, okay, they're going to be fine. And it's just really trust. It's a trust process, just letting go, finding that new balance. I have a daughter-in-law, so I'm learning like, okay, I want my relationship to be great. I don't want to be overbearing, but I also want to be a resource when she wants me there. So I got to learn when to keep my mouth shut and when to, you're just learning a whole new phase, that balance of push. Some kids, older kids, they need to be pushed a little bit, because if they're not pushed a little bit, they may just stay in your basement for the rest of their lives, not working. And you don't want that,
right?
Or not doing anything with their lives. And so some of them actually need a push a little bit, and some need to be reined in a little bit, but you're doing it with it in a new way. You're parenting in a new way. You're encouraging, the way my husband and I have found that is best. And it's what my parents had recommended actually, is that you get involved in what they're involved. Like, you become interested in their interests. You are now, their interests are your interests. And we are so interested in their friends and their boyfriends and girlfriends and what's going on in their lives. And we're involved. And so far that has worked out really well, because we have a great relationship with our young adult children. But it is like a lot of parents, 18 years old, and they're like, okay, I'm done. And I feel like that is not the case at all. Like, I feel like kids really need the support of their parents at this age, and learning to parent in this stage is new and challenging. And I've been very surprised by the fact that we're tired as if we had a newborn, when we don't, for the first time ever, we don't have a newborn, but we have older ones that are out late at night, and then they come home and they want to talk to you. And so you're staying up really late at night. And then we still have little ones that wake up us up very early. And so we're like, so when does the sleep happen?
Yeah.
It's like, by the grace of God, right?
I mean, so
it's just interesting.
It seems like, and I, I'm like you said, 4 or 5 years behind you, but it seems like you really have to give of yourself more when they're older than when they're younger. Like, when all my children were 7 and under, you could do like a 7 o'clock bedtime, and then you were just off. And I guess that kind of just goes away.
It really does. We think back about those 7 o'clock bedtimes, and my older kids are like, "Why do you let the younger ones stay up?"
You're like, "What? Who cares?
What's the point?"
Yeah, what's the point?
We got to be up with you people anyway.
Yep.
So in that way, I've changed. There was like, my husband and I always had our time together was after 7. All the kids are in bed.
It's so different now.
It's so different. And then people are, all the schedules, you feel like a cruise ship director. Sometimes you're like, who's going where and what car and this and that. Oh my goodness. It's so much. And it's so fun. It's so rewarding to watch your kids become who they were meant to be. And it's just so different. I just feel like people don't talk about it enough. For the privacy of their own children, I understand that. There aren't a lot of parenting books that discuss it.
Right. Because it could be big things that you don't want to expose, and then them later on, when they're through that, still have that like as their story. Because, it's like, I think back to when I was 16, 19, 22, like, I don't want any record of all of that. Like, like the things I went through, the things that my parents maybe had, like, there doesn't need to be, anybody.
No record,
like, so
writing a book about your issues.
Writing a book about it. So I agree with you. That's why it's not really talked about specifically, but it's also interesting to get the perspective, I think, because I'm newly in this big kid world, if you could even say that. My oldest will be 17 this fall. Yes. But it already is in a lot of ways surprising, and I feel like I can see that it's going to be more and more so. So it's interesting hearing from you, because, mine are still all under my roof. So we still have family dinner with everyone. Yes. Whereas I've heard from a lot of moms, when that changes, that's just so interesting, because you don't even know who's going to be here for dinner.
Yeah. I find it is there is almost a grieving process that happens. My little kids will not have the same childhood that my older ones did. And
there's no way for them to.
There's no way for them. And in a lot of ways, their life is even richer, because they have siblings that come in the door and pick them up and throw them up. And they have special relationships with their older siblings that the younger ones never had that, because they didn't have older siblings. And it's so cool. I love watching it. Even my married son and my daughter-in-law will come over. My daughter-in-law takes the kids for walks all the time around our property. She just loves to walk, and she's always grabbing them for walks. They have such a rich childhood. But I also had to grieve like everyone in our car. I remember a couple of years ago, I asked for Mother's Day. All I want is for my son wasn't married yet. And I was like, I just want everybody to ride to church together. Like, what a dumb thing. I could almost cry talking about it. But it never happened after that, because that was like a moment in time. And they all gave me that gift and they humored me and we laughed the whole way. It was fun. But that you have to kind of grieve everyone under your skirts. And in the time, in the moment of that, it can feel stressful and it's overwhelming, but it does end. And now we had to relearn, like, okay, family dinner is still happening, even though we got 4 people going 5 different directions, but we're still going to sit down with all the ones here and eat together. Cause it started getting like, wait, who are we? What are we doing? And it was just a moment we had to walk through, like, okay, we're still going to take the family vacation, even when not everybody can go. It's a grieving process walking through that. I know I have a lot of friends who had 2 kids, and so they're grieving in a different way because they're actually just empty nesters, becoming empty nesters, because their oldest 2 are about the same age as our oldest 2. And I look at that and I'm like, I'm so thankful that I have a house full of kids and it's still wild and loud. But we also have had to relearn, like, it's okay when not everybody's there to do the things. I mean, we haven't had to do family pictures. Oh, thank God. I haven't had to walk through that or anything without everybody there. But that stuff starts happening. It's just different. It's so different. And it's changed, right?
Yeah.
And we just have to keep adapting to change and being adaptable. And I think when I look at the older women in my life, I love to, and I always tell other moms who are overwhelmed or questioning things, like, you need to look to people that are ahead of you. And when I look to the ones ahead of me, I feel like the ones who've handled it best are the ones who are flexible to change all the time. When seasons are changing, they just do better. And I want to be that person, like, just, okay, it's changing. And I can grieve and let go of the past of how it used to be, but also I'm going to march forward with a joyful spirit and to what's next, for the kids that are here in my home too. And making all those memories.
Like, you have a lot of kids at home.
Yeah. Like, but it sure feels like a lot of them are not here, just having 2 of them not here right now. And it's just, and one of them, and then the third one is just working full time and gone a lot. And yeah, it's just it's so different. I love it. I want to love every stage. And I've had to learn, like, okay, this is great. We're just different now. And it's going to be
different. Even if you didn't predict it.
Yes, exactly.
Like, because you theoretically can predict it if you really think about it. Like, okay, well, yeah, obviously, your child's going to turn 21, but you don't imagine, like, you're a mom of 11. And so it's, you don't go places though with 11 kids, and 11 kids don't sit at your table. Well, they almost wouldn't, because there's a 17 or 18 year span between your oldest and youngest. And we have the exact same. My daughter will be 17 this fall, and we're about to have our baby. Yep. And so, logically, I should see that coming, but you kind of don't, like, people will ask you, well, if you end up having, 11 kids, would you get a different van? And, which I don't know if we will, because I'm already going to be 40 this year, but no, because I'm not going to be bringing 11 kids with me anywhere, or however many, because we hardly ever travel, all 10 of us, in the same vehicle at this current time right now. Like, we can, but we don't, because somebody always has something else going on. And that's just something that when you only have little kids, all you picture is, Sarah and her 11 kids, which is just not how it is.
It's so hard when I make videos now, because I'm like, well, my family of, I don't know. How many is my family of? Right. When I'm cooking dinner, like, I'm cooking my dinner for my family of, and I can't make myself say a smaller number. So then I have to qualify that they're not all living here. Like, it's so weird.
Right.
It's been a change in my own mindset. So
yeah. Well, there was a question, like an audience question, that I think would be pertinent right now, is, do you think people misunderstand what big family life is like? And how do you respond to criticism that big families, I always find this one funny, are selfish, or that kids don't get enough connection? What are some of the misunderstandings of large families that you get? And I know you've heard them all at this point, repeatedly.
Yeah, I don't get that connection one at all. I grew up in a family of 2 kids, and I don't feel like my parents had more connection with us than we have. And my parents were excellent parents. I wrote a parenting book with my dad. I mean, I don't think they have less connection with us than I do with my kids in any way, shape, or form. Do I think homeschooling helps? Yes, we obviously have a lot of time together, probably I feel like more than the average family. I'm with my kids all the time. And then when we run errands, I'm taking different ones alone. My you said this was coming out in weeks. My husband is for 2.5 weeks. He's in Japan with one of my middle kids, and he's having a blast spending time with him. And when I traveled to Japan a couple years ago, I took my 8-year-old with me, and we just spent so much time together. And we really know our kids well, and we have a great relationship. Like when you have those older kids, you can see where. I mean, I'm always saying I've learned what I did wrong and I'm changing it. But one thing we did not do wrong is we have a good, strong connection with our kids. So we're just being parents, and their life is richer with all the siblings. It's incredible. I do think it's not as hard as people think. I think that's a huge misconception, that it's really hard because they're 1 or 2 or 3 feels so hard.
And they really multiply it.
Yes. But after 4, I notice in other people, I don't know how much I noticed in myself, but in other people, I can see them letting go of a lot of things, especially with number 3, number 4, just trying to control everything. I've never been a big controller. I encourage a lot of independence in my kids from a young age, but I can see this control starts to be let go, and you have to, or you're going to lose your own mind.
Yeah, because you can control 3. You'll go nuts, but you can. After that, you actually, and some people are like strong enough to do it with 4. And so they really go nuts with 4. But then eventually you're broken, right?
Eventually you realize you don't have as much control as you think you do. And control really, I really don't think we have as much control as we think we do. Anyway, that's a whole other podcast. But you start letting go of it more and more. And it's beautiful. It's beautiful seeing the kids with each other and all the things.
Yeah, I think that, of course, is the most common question you get. And a lot of questions that are posed to mothers of large families, they come from a place of like already assuming the answer. Like, well, clearly you can't, And so that always makes it hard to answer certain large family questions because to me, they're posed in criticism of it. I don't know if you get that a lot, but usually they say it in a way that it's like, well, okay, well, we know you already think you know the answer. So how can I come back from this now, right? Like I'm already the one who has to
be on the defensive,
defend my position in a way. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. I just don't give it a lot of credibility. I hear a lot more from people that I wish I would have had a big family. I came from a big family and I loved it. And I hear that so much more. We've gotten very little criticism in public and in like with people, humans that we're seeing face to face, almost
That's
never.
True.
We had one person in a farmer's market once go, "Oh, I feel sorry for you," and I felt so bad that my kids heard that.
That happened to us just the other day. My sister and I took 12. Well, let's see here. No. We each had 4. I don't know why I said we have 12 sons between the 2 of us, but we each took 4. So we had 8 sons that we took for a weekend, and we were out to dinner, and a lady walked by and goes, "I feel sorry for you." And we're like, oh, okay.
Rude.
That was rude.
Like, I feel sorry for you.
Yeah, I truly do.
Having that attitude.
Yeah. But yes, I agree with you that in real life, what we normally get, which my husband and I always think like we got to quickly get out of a place when somebody says this, but we normally get people who come up and say that our kids are really well behaved, and we're always like, we got to go before somebody messes up.
Yeah.
But
we get that a lot too, and that's so sweet of people to take their time to do that. It's online keyboard warriors that can be the most
it's true
sometimes critics of it, but I just don't even care. Maybe I'm old enough that I just do not even care anymore because I see what the fruit of it is in my children. I see the fruit in my children, and I have older kids now. So I'm like, you can look at them and see what you think about that. But
that does help being on the other side because you're not as maybe defensive of your position because you're like, worked out for us. So, whereas if you're still in the really younger years, say you're a mom of 6 kids, 12 and under, and people are criticizing you and you're like, I don't really know. Maybe I can't do this. Like maybe kids really do need, like, I think people truly think like each child needs like a special day to themselves every
Yes.
week. And well, if you have 7, then you're done.
Yes.
Like that's the only.
Absolutely. And actually, that was the hardest phase. I think between 5 and 7 kids, when they're all very young, physically, it is very demanding. And I remember like finding out we're pregnant and not wanting to tell people.
Oh,
And
yeah. That happens to me. For
like
sure.
at church, sometimes family, you're just like, we got to tell them eventually.
I know.
But
I waited
I think
till
it's
18 weeks this time.
Oh, you did?
Yes, because I just never, and nobody ever gives me any trouble. Nobody's ever like,
Yeah.
you're crazy. Nobody says that.
Yeah.
I just feel like I anticipate what people are thinking. And
Mhm.
so I'm like, I would really just like to tell you when the baby comes. But
Yep.
unfortunately, I end up showing around 18 weeks
Yes.
and can no longer hide it.
Yeah. I feel like people were very surprised at 5. Like, oh, because big
Oh.
family is 4, oh,
Yeah,
we're moving
5
on.
is when you officially crossed over.
Yes. And then 11 was a really like, it was
'Cause they
such an
thought
even
you would
number.
just-
What have you done?
10. Like, why beyond
Yeah.
10?
Yes, it was so even. I thought you were crazy. Now, what is this? This is beyond crazy. I don't know. And so
Yeah.
I do think a lot of people come that know us in real life. They come from a good place. When we were young, we were real poor and we were just like barely making it. Not poor, broke. We were broke a lot. And, we're learning how to we're super frugal and budgeting every penny. And some people just feel like, oh, how can they handle it? And they're not in our shoes. They don't see the sacrifices we're making and all of that. But it was hard to tell people sometimes. I never let their criticism affect us having kids because we didn't want to make decisions out of fear or out of other people's expectations. But it was hard to announce sometimes. And I knew it would come, a lot of times it would come from a good place. They're caring. They don't want you to be struggling if they perceive you're struggling, or they don't want this or that bad thing for you. But as far as the general public and their view of large families, it is not a large family world, and we live in it. And I don't know, but I'm raising some good human beings. I think for the most part, they will make their own decisions. And from what I can see so far, I think we want some great human beings out there in this world. And so,
well, and I
know.
can tell you with the large families that I know, it is really fun to be around a large family.
Yes.
Like find you a large family.
Exactly.
And hang out with them because they're fun. They're a fun group.
I agree. I came from one. I had one brother, and I had an aunt and uncle that had 7, and I had an aunt and uncle that had 10. And we spent a lot of time with the ones that had 10 at holidays. And I thought it was the most fun thing I had ever seen. And from very young, I knew I wanted 12 kids. I wanted 12 kids. Because of them being around them is so fun. And they always had so many built-in playmates, and it just seemed like so fun. I had one brother, and if I was mad at him, I didn't even have anybody else to complain to him about. I'm like, I need more of him in my life.
Yeah. Yes. And then I can only imagine as adults, because I have 3 sisters and we're all adults and we all have kids. And this is my built-in group of people to hang with. And I think, what if mom and dad had 2? Like, Sundays would be so boring. Like when we go out to their house, it'd just be us 2. I mean, it would still be fine, but it's just, it's exciting. And there's just a lot going on, a lot of birthdays and new babies and just those happy, joyful life things, that come with all of it. And so I agree with you. I do. I think it's fun. I also think that there can, like you said, there was times where maybe it was hard to make ends meet, or there were times when, I don't know if you ever felt overwhelmed with like the workload of it. And you really, I will say, if you have 3 children, you're allowed to complain about that. If you go beyond that, you're not. You're not allowed to complain.
Yep, they'll just say, well, you knew how it happened. You know how this keeps happening.
In fairness. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, I did learn to stop complaining. There are certain people you could not, and
yeah. And I guess complaining doesn't necessarily help, but you're just not allowed to if you go beyond a certain point, because it's like, well, why'd you do it then?
Exactly. Yeah. And the reality is we all have our own struggles, whether we have no kids or no spouse or a house full of them. Yeah. And life has seasons that are challenging and not. And I see it as all the same. We all have our own hard things. We all have our own hard. And sometimes I have hard times, but I did learn, it was about that 6, 7 number that, like, you just can't tell everybody you're hard because they will say, well, you brought this on yourself. And I will say that the time and energy and effort that children and having children and raising children takes, that's where we put our focus. That's where we put our priority. And it is so rewarding. It's the most rewarding thing I've ever done. And we do a whole lot of stuff beyond parenting even. And it's still the most rewarding. And so when other people are like, oh, I don't know why you would do that. Why would you bring that on yourself? I say it is the most rewarding thing I've ever done. And having adult children is even more rewarding. Even on the nights I'm up praying like, oh, Lord, help them.
Yeah.
It's still the most rewarding. And I think it's just going to get better. I mean, one day I'm going to have grandchildren and it's like your legacy. You're pointing to your legacy, really. And so even when it's really hard, and I see why so many people stop having kids because it is so hard when you have 4 or 5 little ones, 6 little ones, and you're doing everything almost for them and you're training. All you're doing is training. And you're like, when do they actually get it? You know, when can they just sweep the floor and I walk away? And then one day it just happens. It just starts happening. They're starting to like just do stuff that you taught them to. A couple of months ago, I realized a lot of my kids know parts of my bread making. And nobody knows it all. Yeah. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to take my 14-year-old daughter and I'm just going to have her make all the bread for a while. And so that she gets confident like I do in it. And I think it'll be a gift to her, you know?
Yeah.
She's like, okay, I'll do that. And her bread making's better than mine. And like there's this season you start reaping the rewards. I'm like, what do you do different? Can you teach me? I'm learning how to make bread from my 14-year-old and I made all her bread for years and years and years. I'm like, she has the magic touch with this bread.
She's a natural.
I don't know. Yeah. And so you start seeing the rewards. It's hard. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh, he swept the floor and he did a really good job. And I don't have to pick up anything or call him back. Wow. And it just starts happening. And all the effort, all the time, all the effort is just so worth it. Not to have floor sweepers, but to just see how your children are growing and just starting to do what God's called them to do for their lives. And it's so beautiful and rewarding.
The fruit of all your investments.
It's worth the hard stuff. The fruit. It's more fruit. It's worth more than all the other things we do, you know?
Yeah. So for moms who are overwhelmed, whether that be with household things or just in general, you know, with all the things that come with motherhood, packed schedules, maybe sleep regressions, just you name it. Yeah. What's your advice? And I think maybe the perspective is probably some of your top advice, but have you ever felt overwhelmed with things?
Yeah, all the time. Yeah. I look for solutions. Like if there's one area of my house that just seems out of control, I start looking for solutions. But I think these days is what I like to tell moms the most is not to listen to every voice that comes across your screen.
Yeah.
I think it's important because they're conflicting. They're all conflicting. And I think moms can get so overwhelmed with the amount of information coming across their screen every day that tells them they should do it this way or they're not doing it right because they're not doing it this way. And it is way too much. I'm so thankful that when I started, I didn't have that.
Same.
And it is a lot. And I think you have to start shutting it down. You have to pick maybe a couple voices, including in your own community or your own family that you trust and you listen to. I think it's really important to prioritize. I'm in a new stage of life where all of a sudden I told you it's like everything's a little more overwhelming. And I realize I have to walk every day for like an hour. And it's annoying to me because it takes time away from all the other things I have to do. But in order to just in this phase of life, in order to handle everything, I have to walk. I have to spend some time. And so one thing I do when I'm very overwhelmed is I just change the when. Like I always have like a huge list every day. I'm sure you're the same, Lisa. I don't know. Are you a list person? I wake up and I have like 100 things on my list.
Yep.
And so it used to be that my wins was like, it used to be I had to finish everything on my list to go to bed and feel like, wow, I've done it. But I've just changed it where it's my priorities. If I walked that day, read my Bible a little bit, progressed my kids a little in homeschool and spent some fun time with them, like that's my win. I've won. No matter if the whole list got done or not. Some seasons you just have to prioritize. Okay, what's my win? A lot of days I'll wake up and no problem, I can get that whole list done. And some days I just can't. There's distractions. My own brain is like over it, whatever. So I change the wins and just make it what my actual priorities are. And then I go to bed and I tell myself, you know what? You did those 4 things. You won today. You did it. Who cares about that rest of that list? Who cares? I did it, you know? And I think listening to those, just a few voices, not letting everything overwhelm you. And then along with that comes not comparing. And I struggle with this sometimes, even myself. Like I'm a bare bones YouTuber because I have so much going on in my life, and I'm not able to spend time curating content like I would like to. It's just that camera's just coming along with me during the day because I don't have time to do a special video and set all of this up and make this and do that. And I can look at other ones and I'll be like, oh, why can I not get my act together? And I really have to work to not compare myself to others. And I think the same is in motherhood. It can really make us overwhelmed with what we're doing. We have to just keep our eyes on our lane. God gave you your kids because he knows that you are the perfect parent for them. And so, yes, do we have to learn? Yes, I've learned so much from other women, but I pick and choose who I'm going to learn from. I try to learn from people that are ahead of me a little bit so I can see some of the fruit of what's coming out of what I'm taking away from that, which a lot of times have been women in my own family. And I just know, even in my own household with the household things, I'm the expert for my own home. So just because Sally does it this way and that way and that way doesn't mean that it's going to work for me that way. So I need to figure out what works for me, what works for my personality, my children, my situation. Because really, when you think about it, a lot of times you don't want that person's life. You might think you do, but you don't. You want your life. You want the life that you have. And so it's going to look a little different. And so I think shutting down all those voices is so important for moms these days. It takes some effort, but it's really important because they differ. And they'll change their own minds. They'll like tell you what you have to do. And 3 months later, they're telling you something else that actually contradicts what they told you 3 months ago. And you're like, okay, this is a little too much.
I mean, you know that the algorithm kind of rewards hot takes. Yes. And a lot of times these are all younger moms who have these hot takes. And it's kind of like, you know, like you said, talking to moms who are older, who have some fruit on the other side of it, getting real life advice from real life people. Like you go to your own parents who you felt like were connected to you all. How do you limit? And I know you're already in a season of life where maybe you're not as susceptible to this because it's like, well, you probably have kind of what you do and you're like, I don't need to take every advice. But what about young moms? Like, how would you recommend they silence the voices? Because if you're on social media at all, and every time I get on Instagram, I tell you, within 5 minutes find myself saying, I hate the internet. Literally within 5 minutes. And maybe that's just me being negative. But the problem is I'll see something, I'll go down to the comment section and I'm like, I hate the internet.
I know. It's a love-hate relationship I got over here.
Same. I mean, I also don't because it's how I make my own living. But it's like, oh my word. It's so crazy because people are just like, they're all ready to just fight nonstop. I mean, you can't find something on the internet that you couldn't go down to the comment section and find people instantly. Like seems like the most innocent thing. And you're like, nope. We're going to find something we don't like about that.
I think it is really hard. I struggle with the comparison part sometimes with my business part, but I can see it. I meet young moms. I know them at church sometimes I see young moms and they're overwhelmed with all of the voices. The voices, those little videos, those short clips, they come across like you're doing it wrong. Here's how you should change. And whether they mean to or not, that's how you take it when you're not confident in what you're doing yourself. And so I think you have to do whatever drastic steps you have to shut it down. Like if you're not looking at it, it is not worth it because it knocks down your confidence. You need to listen to voices that build up your confidence because you are the right parent for your child and your situation is not like random Susan on the internet. It's different. I use my mom's name. Why'd that come out? I don't know. But it's like, well, it's just, you have to work hard to build up that confidence. And I think it takes like a community. I think you're in your community, if you want to make that online, you still have to make it small and certain voices that you're listening to and getting feedback from. But I love recommending in-person community as much as possible.
Yeah.
There's nothing like it. It helps build your confidence because not only do you have someone saying, this is something you could do, but they're also telling you you're doing a good job in this and this. and look at what your kid is doing. You're doing a good job, and you need your confidence built up. Back in the day, we used to not have everybody telling us, but I
was really proud of I was proud of my home and how it looked. I was proud of like my bread and how it looked. And I'm telling you, it didn't look good. It was edible, but it all was like, I really look at this dinner I made. Like, and it wasn't special. It was just like, it was just dinner, and I was proud that I used like good ingredients and learned how to cook from scratch but it wasn't plated up special.
Yes.
I think also with real life stuff, real life people, you have context, because when you see that short clip, you don't know anything about that person's life. You can assume all kinds of stuff. Even, you put yourself out on the internet a lot. I put myself out on the internet a lot. There's still so much people don't know. And real life people do. But on the internet, for the sake of privacy and protection and all this kind of stuff, you just you curate, even if you're not like a lifestyle, like the one you were saying where they like make, kind of like my channel, like I'll make bread and I'll do this.
Yeah.
Even if it's not curated, it's still curated because you're just simply not going to share everything because that wouldn't be right.
Yes.
And real life people have context for your actual, like if you're going to compare yourself to somebody, you actually know what you're comparing to. They actually know you as well.
Exactly. And I do, I feel for moms these days with the internet. I think it's very valuable to make yourself turn it off a lot. Mm-hmm. And search of course it's such a benefit, let me say, to have a question and be able to look for someone that has an answer. When I started homeschooling, I didn't know any homeschoolers except a couple aunts. And so I would call them, but I just needed more. And I was able to look to the internet, and it was it was so helpful to me. But, we can't just like have these voices flooding us all the time that we don't even know. Yeah. It's too much. And I feel so much for these young moms that are just like, they need every gadget. It's stressing them out. They're stress balls. And it's not a fun way to parent, getting back that confidence in that we know what's right for our child. We don't need every gadget. We can get away with very little. Here's what might be important, but there's so much that's not important that can fall away. And I've had babies. I was just telling this story online recently, is that I've had babies for 21 years, right? When I went in with my first, I just knew I had a lot of experience with babies, and I knew I wanted him to have a pacifier. It's just what I wanted. And I know a lot of people are against pacifiers, but I knew that baby's going to have a sucking reflex. I'm going to have it with me. And I was giving him a pacifier at one point when he was well fed, and a nurse walked in and said, "Oh, you should never, nipple confusion, blah, blah, blah." And so the second time I didn't listen to her. When I went home, I did what I wanted because I had some experience, which really helped me with my confidence. Right. So I didn't listen to her. And then the next time I went in, I hid the pacifier because I brought one for my next baby. And the nurse came in and goes, "She's fussy. I wish she would have brought a pacifier. We can get you one from the nursery." And I'm like, last year, let me tell you, Lisa, I don't know. You haven't had hospital births a lot. You do it at home. But here,
my first two, I had at the hospital.
Where I live,
and they tell you all kinds of stuff you're doing wrong. I've been out of that world for a long time. They're like, "Don't do that."
I know. And I had the best hospital. I'm thankful. Where I live, it's illegal to have home births. It's ridiculous. Let's not go there. But it's awful. But so every time we had a wonderful hospital that really let us make all our decisions. But I noticed just going in every 18 months, basically for a long time, they change their rules constantly. They change their procedures, and they tend to lean toward the natural way of things, but still they changed every time I went in there. Something was different that they were insisted on last time. And so you realize the medical word's changing all the time. You get on the line, everybody's changing all the time. We have to know, we have to take confidence in the fact that there's some instinct that comes when you have that baby, and sometimes it takes a few weeks to come, but it starts coming. Trust it, believe it, like just start leaning into your own intuition that the Lord gave you to parent that child. And we have to rely on that and trust that and let our confidence grow in parenthood and not have to be swayed by every voice we hear.
Yes, absolutely. I think that's very encouraging for young moms today because, like you said, it's always changing. You're always messing your child up in some way or another. They're not going to make it because you didn't give them the right baby-led weaning protocol, or you reacted in some certain way when they threw a fit. I mean, it could go on and on and
Yeah.
on. And I think,
Yeah. And can I say something very important?
yes,
We all mess up all the time.
yeah,
None of us are perfect parents. We didn't come from perfect parents. We're never going to be perfect parents. My 11th is not going to be parented by a perfect parent just because I had 10 before that I got to mess up on.
no, because
we're never going to be perfect.
you know, you get tired too. Like you have to go take your walk, or, you know, like there's days where I'm like, you know what, I need to go to bed tonight at 8:30, and I realize half of you won't even be sleeping, but I just, you know, like I can't give anymore.
Time out. I got to go recoup here.
Yes, that's me tonight because I've been sleeping like really bad the last couple nights because, yeah. Anyways, you wake up like every 3 seconds to pee or have like a like I have prodromal labor with my last 2 where I'll have contractions overnight and then won't have the baby for a week. Anyways, I'm like, I'm going to bed at 8:30. I don't really care if you guys are not even, you know. Oh man.
Absolutely. We gotta be surviving to be able to help all of them survive. So.
Yeah. So much encouragement here. I think that just even for me, obviously, because I can always, moms who are further along than me, I love hearing from because there's stages that I'm probably going to feel blindsided by again that are coming soon. And I think you have so much encouragement to share. You've been sharing good stuff, encouraging stuff on the internet for many years now. Tell them where they can find your channel and what's going on in your life. Like what kind of stuff are you sharing lately on your channel?
I just passed my 8 years date.
Okay.
On YouTube.
You and I are about the exact same because
that's amazing.
I think it was right at 8 years ago that I started my channel too.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah, I should go confirm that. But what if we started like the same week? Because I think like we might have.
August 23rd. So
I need to go look back. It was somewhere around then.
Yeah. And then, we just share our life. There's always something happening in our lives. YouTube is our tribe of many. I try to show up on Instagram, but I'm much better on YouTube. And I'm very consistent there, but yeah, we share. I do a lot of meal prepping. I show my grocery hauls for my large family. We don't share details of our kids' lives, but they're in our videos and how we're just functioning as a large family. And, this fall, just found out I'm going for a month to Japan with my 2 youngest. That's going to be so weird for me. So right now I'm trying to figure out how to prep my house because I leave in a month.
So wait, did your husband go too? Did you say?
Yeah, he's there right now with one of our kids.
Okay.
But our church is with several other churches. We planted a church in Japan, which is like the second most unreached people group in the world. And both of our older 2 sons have spent 9 months there. One of our sons is there right now, but they're needing help with leading the team for that month. And I was like, well, I guess I'm kind of flexible. So a couple of kids are going to my mom's and I'm taking my youngest 2, and the rest, they're going to function with my husband and run the homestead and milk the cows for me and do all the things. And they're very capable, but it's just so interesting. Nothing we've ever done before. So anyway, I just bring the camera along with whatever we're doing, which is always wild and crazy. We got cows 2 years ago. I milked 2 cows every day, and it's like something I knew nothing about.
So I couldn't, when you first, like, I think we talked about this when we first met, like 2 or whatever, 3 years ago. And I don't think you had any desire, but here you are.
Here I am. How'd that happen?
And you love it, I guess.
You know, and I love learning. I love learning new things. And so it's been a good challenge, and it's great milk for our family. I just do the things that produce the most. And the cows produce a whole lot for us, including meat and milk. And it's awesome.
Right.
So yeah, anyway, there's always too much happening here.
You don't have to worry about content, coming up with content.
Not so much, but yeah, it's not beautifully curated. I love your videos. They're so beautiful, but mine are a little chaotic, but we are getting stuff done.
People like
somehow.
that though. People like that too. Like they like that real life, and you can learn so much from seeing how a family functions, you know, in a very real way. And so I think, obviously people love following along with you. So many people.
It's fun. I do enjoy sharing. I've enjoyed it. It's been a huge blessing in our lives to have the YouTube channel. So I'm thankful for it. And I get to connect with a lot of other people, and hopefully it's a blessing in some of their lives too. So,
oh, I'm sure it is. And over the last 8 years, just how much things have changed for you to have documented that whole story over the course of 8 years, those are a big 8 years because you had all little children when you started this channel. So
yes. And we're an international family. My husband's from Kenya. And so one of the questions I've been asked a lot of times by nosy strangers is, where did your kids come from? Because it took me a while.
Just you.
Yeah. And it took me a while to figure out. They thought they were all adopted, but they don't look so much like me, but they are all from my body. And so I tell them but yeah, we travel overseas with our family to go visit my husband's family in Kenya and make sure they know their culture over there. And so, yeah, lots of moving parts over here, but it's a fun adventure. I love it. I don't like to be bored. And boy, I've sure made my life.
You've made
not boring.
You made sure your life wouldn't be.
I would love to be bored now. I would just like to try it just for a day or two.
You probably wouldn't like it. If I ever have like not very much going on, my brain doesn't know what to do, which I know means something bad. I get it. I'm dysregulated, guys. But sure. that's a internet buzzword. But I don't care. I think some people are more easily bored. Yeah. And I can even see this in some of my children. Like we like a lot going on. And so, I think you're obviously the same.
Same. I know. I have nothing going on. I'm like taking up a new project in the kitchen.
You're like, what am I going to do today?
Yeah, exactly. Yes. Right now I'm making some tallow balm because we ran out. I'm like, why am I doing this? Oh, of course I'm doing this. I don't know. Why wouldn't
Somehow
I
felt bored today. And you probably have your own beef tallow now too.
Oh yeah, exactly. Yep.
Awesome.
So.
Well, we will leave links down in the show notes, the description box below. But head over to YouTube, Our Tribe of Many. For those of you who don't already follow Sarah, I imagine a lot of people landed on this video because they already follow you and they love to hear what you have to say. And podcast is a nice format to get out some of the words that maybe you don't always say on your videos. But make sure to go. If you don't follow along with Sarah, go check it out and see what they're up to.
Yeah. Thanks so much, Lisa, for having me on. It's been fun.
Yes, thank you.
Thanks, as always, for listening to the Simple Farmhouse Life podcast. My husband Luke and I and our 8 kids work together side by side on our little homestead and use our blog, podcast, and YouTube channel to reach other homemakers, home cooks, and homesteaders with practical recipes in daily family life. For everyday sourdough recipes, make sure to check out our blog, farmhouseonboone.com. And to dig deeper, we do also offer a course called Simple Sourdough over at bit.ly/farmhouse sourdough course. That's all one word, bit.ly/farmhouse sourdough course. If you're looking to learn how we earn an income online, check out my YouTube course at bit.ly/farmhouse YouTube course, all one word.